Verity by Cynthia Lee, published by Gondel Press, 2021. Cammy Martin is offered a dream job as a nanny to young Quentin Blanchette. Her employer owns an infamous plantation home called Verity. Verity is famous for its cruelties of its antebellum past, and some say, for the strangeness of its current inhabitants, be they alive or dead. The old antebellum home is full of secrets, some of them deadly. Still, there is the promise of love at Verity, love for her pupil, and a powerful attraction to Christopher Blanchette, who has secrets of his own. Cammy begins to suspect that someone or something in the house wants something from her, something she's not prepared to give. Cynthia Lee knocks it out of the park yet again, and still holding strong as one of my favorite indie authors. I find myself wanting to break the cardinal rule of book reviews and just throw out there spoiler after spoiler just to keep talking about this one. But don't worry, I won't do that. Some call Verity a gothic romance. Some say gothic horror. Some say a haunted house story, and others say Southern Gothic. I say yes, all of the above. Romance, ghost, possession, mediums, paranormal investigators, eccentric families with old money, this story has it all. Verity, which came out 6 months before Colleen Hoover's novel of the same name, by the way, is told from the perspective of Cammy, who's detailing her time spent at the old plantation home Verity and the effects the property had on her. Cammy comes from a pretty troubled childhood and is doing anything and everything to escape her past. When a chance encounter with a rich old man in a cafe lands her a live-in nanny type job at a secluded old plantation home in Louisiana, Cammy immediately sees a way out of her past life. But little does she know, her past life has driven her to this place with every step she's taken. Cammy takes the position of teaching pre-K age Quentin, who she immediately falls in love with. Quentin has spent all of his short childhood at Verity, accidentally or intentionally being kept from the outside world. Cammy spends all of her time with Quentin, teaching him the best that she can, while also secretly protecting him from the two elderly inhabitants of Verity, Mr. Louis and Miss Ardrina, and their slow descent into madness. And of course, Cammy is pushed into a slow burn romance with Christopher, a man who lives in a separate house on the property, a broody, melancholy man with a strange past of his own. The story follows Cammy and her development from a social chameleon, able to say what others want to hear just to benefit herself, to actually feeling welcomed, loved, and a part of something. How much of that is the people that live at Verity versus how much of that is the house itself is a slow reveal though. The house pretty much becomes its own character in the book. We learn of its dark past, the lives it's destroyed, and the lives it's ended, and the lives it will not let go of. As for the other characters, each finds themselves fitting perfectly in this modern Gothic tale. The way Cynthia Lee writes her characters is what I think I fell in love with. Her characters enter the story already broken in some way. They can have the most creepy and strange thing happen to them, and they just carry on like it was nothing, but not in a disengaging kind of way. It leaves you wondering what about their mental state has them so scarred and used to these kind of events. And rest assured, Cynthia Lee weaves her tales to let you know why the characters are the way they are. We see Cammy go through some major developments from start to finish. Her transition from self-centered, only looking out for number one mentality to her devotion to the child Quentin was a fun read. There are many subplots with each character and growth or decline throughout the whole story, but it never gets complicated or troublesome for the reader. Mr. Louis seems to have stepped out from an earlier time period, but still comes across as very believable, especially if you are from or have ever been to any rural southern town. Because of his wealth, he's respected in the small community, but because of his reclusiveness and all of the legends around Verity, the rumor mill continuously churns about him and his sister, sometimes to the point of absolute fear. Miss Audrina, Mr. Louis' sister, takes on the quintessential mad woman in the attic type role. Is it just because she's old? Is she suffering dementia or some other ailment? Or is she truly haunted to the point of madness? The author has readers jumping back and forth early on between these options, but the mystery and lead up to the truth stays continuous for readers and keeps you engaged. The child Quentin is withdrawn and could possibly be mentally stunted in development. The possibility of it being medical versus just him being cut off from the modern world is something that is explored in the book. Cammy quickly is able to get him to come out of his shell, however, and her love for the child is returned by Quentin 100-fold. Quentin's development from the shy, quiet inhabitant of a large home of elderly people to pure childlike enjoyment of his time with Cammy was written superbly, and those interactions were the rays of sunshine in an otherwise dark and bleak story. Christopher is the moody, withdrawn character that each story like this requires. The writer has done a wonderful job of developing his character while still leaving the reader questioning his motives in every move throughout the story. This has been the first Cynthia Lee novel that I've read that didn't revolve around a young adult cast. I was amazed at the writer's style change to fit more adult characters while still holding true to her own individual style and themes that made me fall in love with her writing in the first place. Imagine a snake swimming through the water, how the body constantly zigzags left to right but still moves straight ahead in a seamless, graceful flow. That's how I would describe Cynthia Lee's storytelling style. I knew I was in for a dark ride just from the prologue of Verity, and it's the perfect example of her style of moving from one emotion to the next seamlessly. Let me give you a little taste of what I'm talking about. I think of Verity whenever I encounter the scent of burnt sugar. The sickeningly thick and cloying smell of cotton candy makes me feel that I'm standing underneath the live oaks in the front yard, or beneath the gondola in the azalea garden. Verity, when viewed from a distance, was like a candy maker's confection. It was boxy in shape, like a candy box, like a petite four, with a cupola on top, the most salient feature of the house that could have been a sugared pecan. By the time I got to her, Verity had begun to fade. She'd been sampled too many times. The charm fading, she was no longer the belle of the ball. Verity will fall, like the house of Usher, and, in my mind's eye, only the spiraling staircase will remain. It will be the last thing standing. It will wind itself into the sky, replicating like a strand of DNA, and burrowing into the clouds like a spirochete. So now you have the picture of her in your mind, don't you? The elegant old house, as faded and desperate as a Tennessee Williams heroine, the staircase soaked in moonlight, and perhaps a room or one of the parlors, minus a wall or two, where the grand piano still sits, stranded within the peeling wallpaper and clinging vines. At times, a stray cat will walk across its ivories, producing a poignant note or two that no human will hear. Sometimes at night, I dream that I am walking up the stairs at Verity. I walk around and around, the fingers of one hand trailing the textured wallpaper. I climb and climb, but I never get tired. I walk to the second floor, to the third floor, and finally the cupola on the fourth floor. It is made of windows, this cupola, and gratefully I walk towards them. I want to walk its length and look over the tops of the trees to the lake. I want to hear the sounds the woods make at night. But when I look out of the windows, I see nothing but a wasted land, scarred and pitted with mass graves. Arms and legs loll from the hastily dug holes. I see mothers burned, still holding their children. I see men lying in blood-soaked soil, their rib cages exposed, mouths torn open, ropes around their necks. As I watch the kudzu vines, dull and dark, grow over the land, over the poor exposed bodies, crawling over the ground like a living, moving thing, threading itself through empty eye sockets and between the white stalks of exposed rib cages. One day, the earth will heave and pull Verity down. Gravity will press down upon the beams and shatter them. Or perhaps the lake water will rush through its rooms, down its famous staircases, and drown the old house at the root. I know I will not be there to see it. I can only dream of it, as I know I will, until I die. There you have it. I know a lot of readers and reviewers shy away from indie writers, and I totally understand that. There are so many books out there that one tends to pick up and choose what they know they're sure that they will like. I challenge you though, if you are a lover of Gothic literature, check out Verity by Cynthia Lee. If I could turn on just one avid reader to a single indie writer, I would recommend Cynthia Lee over my own writing any day. If you take up that challenge, let me know your thoughts on this book. I absolutely loved it, and I can see this being one that I revisit often. Until next time, find yourself a good book and enjoy a break from reality.